Inequality is trending down in Venezuela? Well, today we discuss.
Welcome to Venezuela Insider, the only place in Venezuela for expats, digital nomads, entrepreneurs, investors, travelers, and related internationals. For more information, venezuelainsider.com.
So today we are reviewing part number 3 regarding the ENCOVI economic survey for the past year, 2023. We already discussed economics and standards of living for the average and lower middle class population. And today we are going to talk about the findings of inequality within Venezuela according to ENCOVI. So let's start. Well, first we have to talk about the Gini coefficient that I mentioned this a lot of times, and actually the past year I used the Gini coefficient number that was registered by the ENCOVI survey of last year. This number was 0.603. That means that Venezuela is the most unequal nation in the world regarding, of course, using the economic survey. However, Gini coefficient registered by ENCOVI on the last study that just came up a few weeks ago is 51.2 or 0.512. This number is still high. Venezuela remains an unequal nation regarding the Gini coefficient, however, goes from being number 1 to not even making the top 10. And actually, you have registered a highest Gini coefficient in places like Brazil and Colombia. Some sub-Saharan African nations have higher Gini coefficient registered by, of course, their own studies. And even the United States has a very high Gini coefficient, over 0.4. And let me explain first, in case you haven't heard this particular explanation. Gini coefficient is responsible for tracking inequality at any given country. Now, inequality doesn't mean poverty. You have a number that goes from 0 to 1, but could be expressed in percentage, from 0 to 100%, if you want to call it. And when you have 0 on the Gini coefficient, that means that 0 inequality, everyone has the same everything. And 100 or 1, it will mean that just the wealth and the income and so on is just concentrated on a very tiny fraction of the population, just one person or just a handful of people. However, the nations have registered Gini coefficients that goes from 0.2 to 0.4. And let's say a country like Sweden and the Scandinavian countries have a Gini coefficient that goes from, let's say, 0.25, something of that nature, to get the idea. And countries with moderate and slightly high Gini coefficient, slight inequality, have a number close to 0.4. So after 0.4, you have a very unequal nation. And for instance, the United States is over 0.4. So if you are from there, it's not getting pretty regarding inequality. In Venezuela, it's way higher than that. Most of the sub-Saharan African nations, high inequality. Russia has a high inequality, and so on and so on. So you get the idea right there. Now, the ENCOVI economic survey, says that the Gini coefficient is lower for 2023 compared to 2024, and it's a significantly increase. What happens? The inequality is halting or stopping in Venezuela? Well, it's not quite the case. Now, what happens is that since 2017 that we had this collapse of 80% of GDP, and basically that affected 95% of the Venezuelan population, probably more, let's say 98%. And afterwards, we start seeing some, let's say, a process of economic freedom, just economics, underlying economics. And the economy has been recovering since 2018, over, let's say, overall 25% of GDP. Very good. What happened is this increase of economic activity, this increase of GDP, is just within a handful of the population, the people who were in better position after the dreadful crisis that we had on the past decade. Now, what we have right now is that some people that were very, very, very bad on a very dire situation on 2018, 2017, 2018, have been recovering. Small business owners, successful self-employees, and so on. And also, some assets within Venezuela have been increasing their prices, their market cap, if you want to use a financial term, their businesses, their private equities, their real estate properties. Some people invested in crypto, and also they are richer right now. And of course, on average, according to GDP, is 25% of these people can have increased their income, their standards of living, so on. Let's say 100%, 200, 300%, but just a handful of people. So we still have a lot of people, actually the majority of the population, over 50% of population, that they were in a very dire situation on 2017, 2018, but right now their situation is not exactly better. Now, to put it in perspective, overall in the country, between 2017 and right now, 2024, we had scarcity of basic goods and services. Right now, we have products from all over the world. We have fully stocked shelves on the counters of the supermarket, pharmacy, also clothing stores, and we have medicines, and basically any basic good that you need, your life, basically for your standard of living, you have it in Venezuela. The difference is that back then, it wasn't expensive, but it was scarce. So it was a supply issue. Right now, we have food, everything, medicine, everything. We have now imported cars, a bunch of stuff that we didn't have back then. But it's expensive. And also, since the supply chains back then were basically destroyed, not entirely, but seriously harmed, right now we have a new supply chain that is evolving, adapting, but yet with a lot of frictions, and hence these frictions make average goods and services more expensive compared to last decade. Now, here's the main issue. When we go from the base, back then on 2017, we had very low standards of income for the average Venezuelan. The salaries, the buzzwords of the salaries being $5 per month or something, on 2017 were actually true. That's where we started with the hyperinflation. And of course, the salaries deteriorated, they collapsed. But now, the salaries are dollarized, and right now in 24, the average minimal income that someone who is currently employed is around $200 per month. So their nominal income has increased staggering a lot, going from $5 per month to $200 per month. Still very low for the economy. If you live in Venezuela, believe me, you want to make way more than $200 per month. But still, you go from $5 to $200, that's X amount of time, X amount of, increase on a 7-year span. And of course, your purchasing power has increased, although Venezuela has become more expensive because Venezuela was dirt cheap on 2017. And on 2018, you can live with, $100 per month, and you can live decently just on 2018, by the way. Right now, in order, the same purchasing power of $100 back then, right now is around $600. So you need like 6 times more money in order to get the same goods and services. However, I have to clarify that right now we have better standards of living regarding that. Compared to 2018, we have way more supply of goods and services. So take that with a grain of salt. So when you measure the delta, the difference between a rich person back then on 2017, a person was rich, 2017, 20 were still rich. So they kept, and actually they have increased their standards of living. I'm talking the rich people, the wealthy, let's say 2-3% of Venezuelans, because they have the assets and so on. But also right now they have a way better supply of goods and services. Remember, wealth and being rich and being financially comfortable for any given population depends on the supply of goods and services. Right now in Venezuela, the supplies of goods and services is way better this year, 2024, compared to 2018. Now, the people that were very, 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 very impoverished on 2018 make $5 per month. Right now, they are making, let's say, $200 per month. And that particular people, with those $200 per month, but with a better offer of goods and service, have a better standard of living compared to 2018, but still keep it wherever I've sold. These people are struggling to make ends meet. But right now, the issue is not finding food or finding basic supplies. Right now, the issue is that everything is more expensive. There is an offer, there is a supply, but it's more expensive to get it, but still you get it. You got the shot, at least, the opportunity to get it. Very difficult, but you can get it. On 2017, 2018, is what not the case. And for instance, I'm going to use a personal example. Right now, I'm connected with a speed connection, internet connection right now here on my laptop that is 100 MBs per second. Back then, on 2017, I did not have access. My internet speed was just 1 and 2 MBs per second. So that means my quality of internet increased 100x, 50x compared, and I have, of course, a better and more productive with my job here with you guys that you're watching this content, because I have access to a better internet. Back then, I paid almost nothing, like $1 per month for that crappy internet. Right now, I'm paying something on the neighborhood of $40 per month in order to access high-speed internet. That's an opportunity that I have right now that I didn't have access back then. And of course, I'm paying 40 times more than I used to pay, but I'm more productive. Hence, I have a better standard of living, on this particular case, standard of working, just for that particular issue. And the same thing goes, I have better food options, also have better technology options on the local stores, better clothing and apparel options, because I have more options right now, and so on and so on and so on. And let's say if I want to drink, I'm not a drinker, but if I want to drink a particular brand of scotch, of craft beer, now I have the opportunity. It's going to be expensive, but I have access to that, and that's actually what creates wealth, rather than just dollars and cents. And for instance, I can use this example that in the United States, if you make around, let's say, $30,000 per year, you will be considered poor in the United States per year, $30,000 per year, working at Walmart, Starbucks, something like that. Okay, but someone, let's say, let's not use Venezuela, let's use Colombia, for instance, the neighboring country. If you make $30,000 per year in Colombia, you're going to have a high medium class standard of living over there in Colombia. Of course, depends on the city and so on. It's not the same thing in Bogota and Medellin that Cali or places like that. Very good. And you will be considered, in this particular case, making over $30,000 per year. In Colombia, you will consider high middle class. In the United States, you will be considered poor. And that depends how money works in different aspects of the world. Because what makes you rich is the access to goods and services, and not necessarily on the nominal amount of money. Now, let's talk about how it translates to society. You have the people, of course, still, the people who were suffering on 2017 are suffering right now, but for different reasons. Back then, it was not access to goods and services. Right now, they have access to them, but they have to pay a premium for that, of course, for their standards of living. I'm talking the 80% poorer Venezuelans. They are struggling, especially, of course, as low as you go, they're going to struggle the most, and it's a very difficult situation. However, unlike on previous, let's say, in the previous decade, when you have control of prices, capital controls, and so on, you have, let's say, a moderately free economy right now. So now, as a self-employed, let's say you're a plumber, or you're a cab driver, or any trade, any particular real trade that you have have access, of course, first to hard currency, so you can charge your services in hard currency on USD here in the country. We are being de facto dollarized 2018, 2019. Also, you have access to start a small business in your own community, opportunities that you didn't have in the past. And if you are optimistic like myself, on the next 5 to 10 years, you will have the opportunity to harness something for yourself regarding your particular skill set or your particular assets. Let's say you have a small home on a poor area, but right now on that poor area need a particular business on that particular location. You can rent the place or start the business yourself with a little that you might have, or you can offer your skills. And that's why the situation is dire and still dire. It's better compared to 2017, 2018, but I'm positive it's gonna be better on the next 10 or 10 years or so. And lastly, talking just about the psychological thing that affects, the people with the short end of the stick. Because also we have a bunch of amenities that only wealthy people here in the country, wealthy for Venezuelan wealthy, not US worldwide wealthy, they have access to nice restaurants, nice trips, fancy trips. Right now we have new cars in the country. We didn't have those like over a decade. Now we have it. You can go to a dealership and drive your own new car. Of course, you have to pay for it. Remember, Venezuela is not socialist. It's a crony capitalistic society. Take that into account. But it's psychologically hard for them because the people who are doing, let's say, slightly better or way better than them, not necessarily they're rich, they can go to fancy trips, to the beach, buy new clothing, new apparel, a new smartphone. And that's, on a country like Venezuela, that's considered being not wealthy, but, with great standards of living. Also, I have to mention this goes especially for Western people, is that when you reach the top 1%, I'm talking top 0.5% of the population, these people are very, very, very wealthy. They have nice mansions, nice new cars, they travel the world, they have all nice, jewelry and so on and so on and so on. These people actually are way more wealthy than some cases that many Western people that makes $100,000 to $200,000, $1 million per year. These people, I'm talking the 0 point, la creme de la creme in Venezuela. These people are very, very rich. And also, that's something you see them on social media with beautiful, gorgeous women, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, yachts, parties, luxury, and so on and so on. And the average Venezuelan sees this and he doesn't like it. However, the Venezuelans learned the lesson regarding socialism that happened before, not on the same degree that is happening right now, but people who were, the oil industry and so on, they make decent amounts of money. The people who didn't, they were, disgruntled against society. They voted for Hugo Chavez and the socialists. So the Venezuelans, at least, they learned their lesson regarding that. According to other study that I read recently, and I mentioned this on the platform, is that around 87% of Venezuelans hate socialism. I mean, hate, specifically on the study says, hate socialism. So the Venezuelans at least learned the lessons that being, envy from the wealth of other people, that's bad, and the government should not redistribute wealth and so on. The government apparently is not planning to do so. What they're doing is covering just some basic social services, and that's it. They have been reducing their public spending and being more fiscally responsible compared to the United States. Actually, you're not going to believe this. The Venezuelan government is being more fiscally responsible than the United States and the EU regarding, of course, on nominal terms. I'm not saying, just that particular regard. So the main point is, wealth inequality, we have it a lot, affects society, affects businesses, affects consumer behavior, and so on and so on. But I strongly think that it's going to be better in the future in the next 10 years or so.
Thank you for watching Venezuela Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media. If you want to work with us, VenezuelaInsider.com. Thanks again and have a nice day.